This is Barbados Rum, the case for a GI. A perspective on why some believe Barbados needs a geographical indication for its rum.
We now make sure that Barbados will continue to grow sugarcane. So we will continue to turn sugarcane into a valuable export product, irrespective of what happens to the sugar industry.
Richard Steele is master distiller and master blender at the Foursquare Distillery.
The whole point of establishing a GI is to establish the very strong rules of origin that will apply. So as we've discussed earlier, rules of origin do not give the level of protections that people think they give. And so obviously if we draft, if we register a Barbados GI, it's going to have obviously much more rigorous rules of origin that are in any trade agreement, and where trade agreements allow dilution and mixing and all these kind of things. So the element in terms of, well, what's in a GI, that's really where a GI can vary a little bit from other forms of domain registration. So for example, in Scotland, a Scotch whisky GI doesn't mandate all of the grain come from Scotland because it's a GI, whereas if you have another type of registration, which is known as a PDO, Protected Domain of Origin, that may specify a very specific location of raw material. To kind of illustrate the point, you can have a Barbados Rum GI, and then you can have, within the Barbados Rum GI, you could in theory have a St. Philip Rum, and that would mean, and that being a PDO, you define that as a PDO, and that would mean literally the cane might have to come from specific areas of St. Philip. But the Barbados Rum GI doesn't specify a requirement for all the raw material to be grown in Barbados. It specifies molasses of being a certain quality, which is available in the region, and anything direct from sugarcane has to be from Barbados sugarcane. And so what I would do is, what I would make the point is that what we are doing is, with Mount Gay and Foursquare and Nicholas, we've all taken steps to independently grow our own sugarcane. In our case, Nicholas is growing all their 100% of their raw material is from Barbados. They're growing their cane. Mount Gay is growing their cane, has their own sugar factory. In our case, we're growing a little bit of cane, but working also with Ashbury Plantation in St. George to secure cane. So all three distilleries have taken steps to ensure that whatever happens to the sugar industry, Barbados will continue to grow sugar cane. And that's because Barbados sugar cane will continue to play an indispensable part of Barbados rum making. Will we be able to overnight say all Barbados rum will be from Barbados grown sugarcane? No, that is a scenario which is very common in the region, where small islands simply don't have enough acreage to support the rum industry. But as I say, we now make sure that Barbados will continue to grow sugarcane. So we will continue to turn sugarcane into a valuable export product, irrespective of what happens to the sugar industry. And the flavor and profile of Barbados rum will always have a critical component from Barbados sugarcane.
And what percentage of the molasses used to produce rum in Barbados is actually coming from abroad?
Well, that varies. One of the things we were fortunately able to negotiate was that the Barbados molasses were shared equally. So for someone like us, between the molasses and our sugarcane, we're using about 30 to 40% local input. But it will obviously vary by distillery. If you look at Nicholas Abbey, for example, they are 100% Barbados input.
But how does he see an expansion of the rum industry in Barbados impacting on the growing of sugar cane?
We are demonstrating with rum that we can take the same sugar cane, the same cost structure, and turn it into a value-added product that's a viable export. And the greater the success of the rum industry, and the greater the identity of Barbados rum and the linking of Barbados rum to all of the production steps being here, that is going to drive production of sugarcane. Because we're currently using local molasses and local sugarcane. And as we develop and expand those markets, we're going to need more sugarcane. And as I told you, the way to grow the rum industry is not to try to tell Foursquare and Mount Gay to become mass producers. The way to grow the rum industry is you need 10 of us. And when you have 10 of us growing sugarcane, you're going to have a rum industry and a sugar industry. Or a sugarcane industry, I should say. So that's what we have to do. But if we keep driving the product down to the bottom, if we think our future is with low-end bulk rum to be value added somewhere else, then the rum industry is not going to drive the sugar industry. The Barbados sugar industry has not in the 20th century leveraged its output one single iota. It was, when it went to centralization, it became a vacuum pan sugar industry, raw sugar, and 100 years on, it is still a raw sugar industry. It has not leveraged it, not 1 cent, and therefore it struggled. The sole reason why you have a rum industry or rum producers taking that identical raw material and turn it into a viable export is because we're adding value. We're not selling commodity rum. We're not selling rum to the lowest consumer. Again, you can see it across any industry in Barbados. The tourism industry, what's thriving, the winter season, the top hotels. We are a high-cost destination. We are a high-cost place to produce products. But we can deliver on equality. So if we can deliver on equality, we can basically export or sell a premium product. And that's what we have to do.
Coming up,
the addition of those two new distilleries is driving additional demand for growing sugarcane. We'll do so.
This is Barbados Rum, the case for a GI.
100 years on,
Master Blender, Richard Seal.
we sell rums, today. We export rums today. My grandfather could only dream of. I mean, we sell rums today. Most of our rum sales are on the premium end. Most of our rum, the minimum we export is 3 years old, but most of our business is sort of 10-year-old rum and up. Our rums, even, I just shared with you a white rum, and it's a very special cane juice, natural fermentation, and it's €90 a bottle.
And as we look to stronger links between rum and the cane industry, Richard Seal anticipates that Barbados will soon have a total of 6 distilleries instead of 4.
So there are 2 distilleries planned. I understand one has received a planning permission. One is foreign owned and one is locally owned. And I think it's a good point to distinguish, when is foreign investment versus exploitation. And the answer to that question is, where is the value added? If a foreign investor adds the value here, then that's investment. If the foreign investor is taking a product and carrying it outside to add value outside, that's just exploitation. And that's the neo-colonial model, and that's the way it's been for a couple hundred years. So the beauty of establishing something like the GI, where you lay down the framework for using that prestigious mark, and that prestigious mark, Barbados Rum Certified Geographical Indication, is the value has to be added in Barbados. So this means you attract the right kind of investor. You attract the investor who's going to invest here and place the value added here and the management here and produce the product from cane to bottle here. And that's what we do. The 2 new players are both, that is the intention. So again, to my point about rum driving sugarcane growth, the addition of those 2 new distilleries is driving additional demand for growing sugarcane. Will do so. And that's what we want to see. And it's not a case of, it's not a case of seeing it as competition. It's a case of seeing that what's very important for the rum industry is to strengthen the category and to strengthen Barbados rum. You know, there's 160 odd distilleries in Scotland. You know, you don't become a super strong category with 2 or 3 players. You know, there's 3,000 cognac farmers. This is the important thing. You have to build. Your reputation, and having more players is part of that, building that reputation. Why are they coming here? They're not coming here because it's a very good cost effective place to make rum. In fact, Barbados is probably the most expensive place in the whole world to make rum, but they're coming here because of the know-how that is here and the reputation that has been created by Barbadians.
Richard Seal is strongly of the view that Barbados needs at least 10 distilleries for the development of its rum industry.
Yes, I mean, I think there's 11 in Martinique. I mean, 10 is a minor ambition. If you want to grow a rum industry, if this is part of your government's strategy to grow a rum industry, for a rum industry to become a more and more significant contributor to GDP, that's what you have to do. You have to grow the industry, and growing the industry is by attracting more players and attracting more value added within the island. That is how rum is going to be a bigger part of the Barbados economy. Rum can't be a bigger part of the economy, a part of the Barbados economy, just by the decisions of one company. We can't control that our one company, or even us and Mount Gay, 2 companies. But if government wants to create an industry, you've got to add players, not look at us and think that we can turn into mass produce operations, where that would just destroy everything.
But he says that rum cannot rely on the sugar industry, and that is why he and others have taken what he describes as independent steps.
So, you know, we're in the extraordinary position that we pay way more for our local molasses than any other producer. So if our local molasses increases, we're actually technically worse off. So, you know, right now I would say that current scenario with the local sugar industry is not really sustainable. So, again, that's why we've gone our own way, and we'll continue to do so. I mean, we will continue to expand, and I'm sure the others will continue to expand how much cane that we grow on the island.
What percentage of the cane grown is now committed to the rum?
Directly, it's very small. That is committed directly to rum. You know, the vast majority of cane still goes to Port Vale. So that's one of the challenges, and that's why, you know, we're not the solution to the sugar industry, because we can't overnight pick up that slack. But what I'm saying to you is we are 3 producers who are growing cane, and 2 more producers are going to come and grow cane. And as we grow our business and as more players grow, you could continue to see a thriving sugarcane growing industry that is no longer dependent on sugar.
In the next and final edition, in 2006, Larry Warren and his family purchased St. Nicholas Abbey.
They have distilleries that would swamp us if we went towards a more volume down market scenario.
This has been Barbados Rum, the case for a GI. I'm David Ellis.